Okay, so we are in our study on Mark 11:1 through Mark 12:12. I got it right that time. I didn't say Matthew. Okay. And today we are on the parable of the vineyard, which is Mark 12:1. So let's go ahead and read those 12 verses, then we'll talk about it and how it's related to the previous visits to the temple and visits to the fig tree. So it says, "Then he began to speak to them in parables. A man planted a vineyard and set a hedge around it and dug a place for the wine vat, and built a tower, and he leased it to vine dressers and went into a far country." It's like if I had done that back in Kentucky and then came out here to Ukraine. "Now at a vintage time, he sent a servant to the vine dressers that he might receive some of the fruit of the vineyard from the vine dressers. And they took him and beat him and sent him away empty-handed." That's the servant. "Again he sent them another servant, and at them they threw stones, wounded him in the head, and sent him away shamefully treated." Verse 5, "And again he sent another, and him they killed. And many others, beating some and killing some." So many times he sent servants out to do this, and every time they were met with violence, sometimes to the point of death. Verse 6, "Therefore, still having one son, his beloved, he also sent him to them last, saying, 'They will respect my son.'" So you know what this is about, because that's Jesus, right? And the others are the prophets. Some of the prophets they abused, some of them they killed. And finally, in a last-ditch effort, he sent Jesus. But those vine dressers said among themselves, "This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and the inheritance will be ours. We will get it." They're trying to steal the vineyard from the Father. So they took him and killed him and cast him out of the vineyard. "Therefore, what will the owner of the vineyard do? He will come and destroy the vine dressers and give the vineyard to others." The son is killed. The father is going to take out vengeance and kill the vine dressers. And then the vineyard, not having an heir, will pass on to others whom he chooses. "Have you not even read this scripture?" This is what Jesus is saying. "The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This was the Lord's doing and is marvelous in our eyes." He's saying that Jesus, among all the prophets, is the one that they absolutely rejected as the Messiah. And he is the Messiah. He became the Messiah in real. "And they sought to lay hands on him, but feared the multitude." They still feared the people because they were not doing God's work. If they were doing God's work, they wouldn't fear the people, would they? If you're doing God's work, you don't fear the multitudes. You don't resort to saying, "Hey, look at how many people agree with me," either. So that's one thing you can do to test a false teacher, is when you hear him say, "Well, there's so many of us, most Christians believe in this," not what you're preaching, right? That argument alone means they fear people. They don't fear God. They're not doing the work of God. They're doing the work of men. They're doing what people have decided democratically is true. It's the same thing. They sought to lay hands on him, but feared the multitude, for they knew he had spoken the parable against them. So they left him and went away. This is the fig tree. This is the last one on the fig tree. The fig tree, Jesus came to it, it didn't yield its fruit. It didn't give up its fruit to him. In the parable, God the Father sends many prophets to the fig tree, the vine dressers in the vineyard, and they refused to give up the fruit to any of them. Any of the fruit. Just enough for them to eat, for them to take back to the owner, right? To eat. Didn't give them any. Instead, beat them up and threw them out or killed them. And they did the same with his son. And so God the Father made it so that those vine dressers would never, ever, 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 ever again produce fruit by killing them. So you see how all this ties together. And the visits to the temple are important because what happened? What happened in that third visit to the temple? If we look back at this, they feared the people. Right? They feared the people. The chief priests and scribes, they wanted to undermine his authority when they asked him where he has this authority to do these things. They weren't doing that to authentically want to know and believe. They were doing it in order to destroy it and undermine it. And Jesus knew a way to avoid telling them. Because if they believed in him, they would already know. If they believed in John, they would already know. So we've got this where they're challenging Jesus and Jesus checkmates them. And then you got the vineyard. And see, there's a parallel between the visits to the temple and the fig tree / vineyard parable. Those things represent the temple, the sellers, buyers and sellers, the scribes and the Pharisees, the parallels. I'll let you reflect on it. So, our next video is going to be that section that we skipped. We're going to try to tie that into all the rest. But we're not going to go into great depth on that passage because we're going to start a series here called Faith That Moves Mountains. May the Lord bless you as you seek him with all your heart. Remember to subscribe down below and like the video and share it on your Facebook and other social media. And then make a comment, whether a question or a comment. We read all of them, and we try to respond to all. Get on over to our website, The Rooted Word, and start reading the translation and also the articles we've posted. It's at therootedword.com, therootedword.com. And may the Lord bless you as you seek him with all your heart.